My first voting experience was unfortunately in November 2000 when Florida took 6 weeks to figure out how to count ballots and G.W. Bush Jr. took office. Understandably for myself as an independent and believer in climate change, I was very saddened that Al Gore didn't sweep that year. Shortly afterwards was what I considered a downward spiral, where I felt as though my ideologies and preferred way of life were under attack. I felt like an outsider, abandoned by a government that didn't accept me for who I was, an atheist that believes in equal rights for all classifications. As GWB's presidency wore on, sadly secured by a horrific terrorist attack, I began to wonder if my only option was to defect to another country. When the Partial Birth Abortion Ban Act was passed in 2003, I started seriously thinking of leaving my home country. I protested the administration and all of the conservative-influenced legislation they pushed. I protested the war, and I protested for women's rights. Then I became disenfranchised as a citizen, and began to believe that things were getting worse, and there were no more options for American humans who just wanted to live freely as themselves. Our greatest power as Americans is the ability to live as our true selves without oppression, which is the utopian society I always hoped for. Then you, Mr. President, showed up with the most amazing campaign I have ever encountered in my life. You swept that first election with the same finesse that Clinton swept first-time voters with his appearance on MTV playing the saxophone. I followed your speeches from that amazing DNC appearance all the way through your public Q&As, and eventually your acceptance of the position as president. I have never been so proud to call you my president, which is why I felt it important to write this letter. I've spent so many years saddened by the powers that be, but you made me a proud citizen of the lower 48. From the Credit Card Accountability Act, to the Matthew Shepard Hate Crimes Prevention Act, to killing Don't Ask, Don't Tell, to opening up our communication with Cuba, to facilitating the repeal of DOMA, to passing the ACA, to Sotomayor's appointment to SCOTUS, we have come so incredibly far as a modern nation and made so many humane strides to progress and that's tough to believe. I realize we still have so incredibly far to go as a nation, considering the rampant racism and violence associated with hate crimes that have run rampant over the past few years. I was in New York City for 9/11, for when Sean Bell was shot, for when Eric Garner died, and for the birth of Occupy Wall Street. I have a newfound fighting spirit in me, and will always continue to fight for equal rights. There was a YouTube video of you I saw, where you were touring the remote offices that did a lot of the local legwork and made a quick speech to thank the volunteers. In that moment, you spoke as a grateful human being and not as a politician. You teared up, and then I teared up, and I felt quite silly for that. In that moment, I saw what a politician should be, which is someone who wants to be in a position to help out the people around them. Someone who can do some good and improve the lives of the people he represents. You were that person in that moment, and you still are. Lately, I've been hearing that you recently visited a prison and pardoned 46 drug offenders, and that you're the first president to do that. I say bravo to your actions, and hope that with these pardons comes some sort of reform with the prison systems, but that's a discussion for another time, I suppose. Thank you for reading this, for all you've done, and for getting our economy on the right track. I don't expect the next president to be as effective as you, but I will always vote and make my voice heard. P.S. I realize that a staff member is probably reading this, so that it won't actually get to the president, so if this long-winded message doesn't get to his hands, please just tell him I say hi and that I think John Bonner is a moron.